All right, darling. Right, welcome, one and all. I'm showing the wrong screen here. 1 second. Let's get rid of those.
Thank you, mate. Much appreciate the welcome.
I'm showing the wrong screen here.
Still are, but it's a different one.
Hold on, let me get this sorted. Why is that showing the wrong screen?
Pass. I've only got
Okay,
one,
let's
so I
stop
can't.
share.
I can't share the wrong one.
Share that.
This is for the birds, trading on one screen and trying to present on one screen. Worse still.
Oh yeah, mate, you're in a bit of trouble there.
Ah.
There we go. We should be all right now. That's it. Okay, so welcome one and all. We have a market which has pushed aggressively to the downside. Now, anybody in the broadcast group or the Telegram group will know that we have taken a trade long, and they'll know that the stops are at the lows. So well, I'm going to stick in there. Now, it does look a little bit bleak, I've got to be honest. Daily pivot and the close of the gap would suggest some downside. So we've got to be a bit careful here. And I would suggest maybe shoving those stops up a little bit early on this morning. But there might be some management for me this morning. So I may need you to take over as soon as you can, mate. But
No problem, mate. You say the word.
okay, but right now, let's just have a quick look. The market is about to open up in a few seconds' time. I'm going to give it at least probably the first minute or two, just to see what happens here. But this certainly does look like it might trigger some downside, and we do have some other triggers and other signs and signals of some further downside. My issue is where it is. The market is so low down here that I would suspect it's going to try and hold on, and there may well be some central bank intervention coming. So that might be enough to hold the market up, but we're going to have to be very careful. So be ready to take a short. And if you are long, I would shove your stops up fairly tight at the minute. But yeah, let's watch it for a few minutes. I will pass it on to you, mate, as I watch this intently and make a decision on the best course of action.
All right, mate. At the moment, my computer is frozen, so I'm unable to do anything. But I'm sure
Okay.
it will defrost in the next minute or so.
Okay,
So
no
we'll go
problem.
there.
Well, we
What's been
can go that.
happening?
Yeah. Well, we got to. Let me just say that this is the level that if it starts to break down under, then I think we're gonna have to do something. What's been happening is overnight we had Donald Trump coming out with a press conference, and I have to say, when I first was getting ready for the press conference, I was quite bullish on it because I thought, well, Donald Trump, the last thing he needs is for this coronavirus to be hampering the market. So I assumed that actually it would probably end up being quite a bullish press conference. But he had his medical experts with him, and they certainly were not too confident about the way that the coronavirus is being. Is kind of what will potentially happen. I think that maybe the key statement I thought was the fact that there is no vaccine that will probably be available for another year. So there are ones that are in trials, going into trials, and they think that might be within the next couple of months. But after those trials are done, and they push it out to a bigger group of people. But then it's going to take a few more months to get to market. So I think that it could take a whole year. That's what they're saying, that it could take a whole year. Which all that does is say, if there is another wave, we've got it covered. But for this particular wave, there is certainly some problems. So we are potentially looking at some further downside, but I'm just waiting to hear and waiting to see, if you like, whether the intervention that has been speculated from the central bank will hold the market up in this place. Now, I'm reluctant to go short. We are seeing signs and signals of a short. We just closed the gap. We got the daily pivot. We do have a reversal bar. It's only a 15-minute chart, but that does usually it can be pretty fruitful in a market like this. But the reason I'm reluctant to go short is that as soon as I flip this to a monthly chart, then we see the dangers of trying to get into the market at these lower levels. It's not that one, it's this trend line along here. And if we zoom in, if you like, a little bit more, what we have is that there, which when we flip now down to a daily, we see we're right on top of that level. Now, yesterday closed within. We are slightly below the trend line right now. But the significant aspect is that, you know, again, taking a longer term view, this is a primary trend line. It's not the primary trend line, but it is a primary trend line. So, you know, bounces and people picking stuff up here and a bit of a bargain wouldn't be the most unusual thing in the world. So that's why the shorts I'm a bit reluctant to get you know, start flipping positions. And as I say, if you've been in the Telegram group, then you know that we are long on the FTSE down at these levels, and it was going to be a case that I would probably have a time dependent trade rather than a price dependent trade, because if this can pick up in the next couple of days, the chances are I will probably close the trade over the weekend. We have Chinese PMI data due out on Saturday, and I can't see how that's going to be good. If it is, the market will get a further move to the upside, but it will still probably be relatively cheap. So I'm just looking to hold on to something for a couple of days, mate, and then get out, regardless of where it is.
Right, mate. Go do some work, and I will take over, and you'll have to stop sharing.
No problem. I'm okay for right now, anyway, mate. So if you are still struggling, then we're okay.
Mate, you know, I'm always struggling. I'm a struggler.
How was yesterday, by the way?
Look, interesting day. Probably not for publication, but yeah, really nice day, actually.
Oh, good. Good. We do you know, I invited Lloyd in with us yesterday.
Oh, did you? Did he come in?
He did.
How'd he go?
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously you were greatly missed, but it was quite nice to have you know, Lloyd come in and just throw some other ideas into the market as well. But
Lloyd's a champ. Like Lloyd,
he's
a good guy.
Trooper, mate, trooper. And I'll tell you a couple of things that he was looking at as well in a moment. But if you like,
sure.
I will share the screen with you.
Happy days.
Have I done that? Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yep. I've just got to pick a screen. That's hard.
When you've only got one.
Yep. And it still doesn't work. Come on. There we go. All right. Let's start with some good news, shall we? Those of you, actually, I'm not sure when we got into this trade. We traded this back here. This was on Tuesday, Wednesday. No, this was on Monday. We got into this trade. That's right. In the show, I think we showed this in the show, where we had a very clear break and retest of the trend line, and that's always going to get me interested. Then we didn't get taken in for quite some time, but we got even a bonus here if you really got keen and like a little bit of risk on the table. Then there was probably an opportunity to get in as off the bounce of the weekly pivot. I didn't do that, but we're in here. We're now through TP2, which is the 109.20 level, which means we've got our stops at entry. We put some money in the bank, and this can only be a good result now. How good probably will be determined in the next little bit, because if we can get through DR2 and this level here, I don't see any way we won't go to 109.60-ish, maybe even back to 110. We'll see. And as I said at the time, I'm not terribly sure why I would be going long the euro at the moment from a fundamental standpoint and a technical standpoint. Well, the technical standpoint was there, and that's exactly why we did go long, because we were at a very, very strong support level and we were oversold. So there was no mystery as to why we went long there. And this looks like being a decent trade, but not so decent as the one that that we're in on the Slingshot strategy, which is available also through the Telegram group. Sorry, I've got to get all this right. There's so many places to remember where I've been and who I've told what. But the Aussie Swissy trade is probably the best one, and I think there's a marvelous chance of that being a really, really bang terror. We'll see how that goes out. I don't talk about that in this show because this is very much a majors only one. But if you want to know on the minor side of things, then as Ash said, get in the Telegram group. Online trading profits totally free to get into that group, but there's a lot of options as
I will
to how to.
post that in right now.
All right, mate. How to follow us and the opportunities that we see outside of this program. Okay, so euro dollar weekly chart. Don't need to be on the weekly chart. I'm looking for a target here for you guys if you are in this trade, and I really didn't have a set target in mind. It depended pretty much on time, but that's the level that I see. And if we actually got there today, which by the look of this candle is possible, I wouldn't say it's probable, but it's certainly possible. And if that were to be the case, I think I'd take most of this off the table, because I would definitely see that as a retest of a breakout level and potentially, pardon me, a little bit of a sell-off from there. So strong resistance is what I'm talking about. I'd definitely be looking to scale out of this in a major way. I don't know that there's enough strength in the euro to take it any further than that, and then go back to the dollar. I'm a little bit mysterious. Well, not mysterious. I'm a little bit confused. I've got to say, if we do go weak dollar in a medium to long term scenario, I totally get it short term, because as I mentioned earlier in the week, the dollar index has come off the highs, and you would expect that, and we're getting a fairly decent retracement on that, although I haven't looked at the dollar index today. But just looking at this euro dollar, you'd have to be thinking that that's still going down. So I think that's just a correction or a retracement, if you like, and I don't expect that to last long term. So I'm going to milk this for what I think it's worth, but I'm not really prepared to go past the 109.90 area, which is here. And certainly not the 110 area, without taking a major proportion of this off the table. If you're not in this trade and you're thinking, okay, I'd like to be in this trade, it's too late, I'm afraid. I don't see any way to get into this right now. Certainly the smaller time frames are telling me overbought, and any resistance level, of course, is going to present a reasonable opportunity to scalp something to the short side. I'm not interested in that, of course, because I'm in the long, but if that were the case, then probably you'd want some sort of reversal pattern. We are at DR2, so there's no way I'd be going long here if I'm not in the trade. But a double top or something of that nature before I'd even consider going short. Always looking for a daily pivot test. I don't really consider this to be a daily pivot test. I think the daily pivots come to price rather than the reverse, and I'm always looking for price to go to the daily pivot. So that's there. So am I expecting some retracement? Certainly I'm expecting consolidation. If retracement comes, then it comes. But I wouldn't be expecting it past really the breakout area. It had two good cracks at this and then came back off it. But now we're through that level, and that level would be the first one I'd be looking at for a retest. I don't think I'm looking at the daily pivot today, to be fair. Anyway, that is what it is. And if you're not in it, as I said, I wouldn't be looking to get in anytime soon. Dollar yen is, I'm a little bit, I won't say peeved, but I will say disappointed that I didn't get in a portion of this reversal. Oh, there's a word. I'm not really able to use that yet, because really all we've got is a reply from the breakout. So the potential for the false break is there, no question about that. But gee whiz, that's a fairly big move, and I want to see the market settle down here, and I fully expect that will be the case. I think we'll go into a little bit of consolidation here, and for that reason, I don't really want to be entering the market right now. I think this is probably a one for Monday for me, so I'd like to see price get down to here somewhere, then retest that now rebroken, if you like, former resistance level. I'd like it to become resistance again after a push down, a pullback. Oh, way fell. A push down, a pullback. Sorry, a push down, a pullback. Then look to trade it short. Monthly pivot's an obvious scale out level, and then I think if the bear run can resume, if you like, it's very, very difficult to see a bear run in here, I've got to say. But if you go to a little bit wider time frame, you can see it's even tougher on the weekly chart. It's more a consolidation, isn't it, that we're seeing here? Let's actually put that in, because that's more interesting than I anticipated, actually. Let's even start here, I think. Yeah, that kind of places it in no man's land for me, which is not what I really was expecting to see. It's probably another one inside here, but you know, I can't really get interested in that from that point of view, because the reason I say that is we've come off the bottom, and when we come off the bottom of a range, for me, I'm always looking for a higher low, which we've got. Then I'm looking for higher highs, then higher lows, then higher highs, then higher lows. All of that has happened, and now really this is still a higher high. Where's the higher low going to appear? It can go right down to the monthly pivot and give us a higher low. But yeah, I'm unsure of what happens thereafter, to be fair. I was bearish, but I can definitely see if this does go to the monthly pivot, that's going to be a buy area. Interesting. Wasn't expecting to see that. So yeah, look, I'm a fan down to the monthly pivots, and now we're back, I guess, inside that breakout area. Exactly what I said before. Down here, retest it from there, short to the monthly pivot, but I don't know that I want to be going too far past there. So I think that's probably my analysis on dollar yen at this point in time. There you go. It's going to have to hurry up if it's going to meet that in time. But anyway, that's where I'm at dollar yen. So
to achieve, I know.
Yeah, mate.
I'm watching your thinking I was watching your screen. I was watching mine, and I was just about to say, God, the dollar yen looks a lot like the FTSE.
There you go. Sometimes that happens, especially when you're looking at the FTSE chart.
Yeah.
So I think from a day point of view, if we go down to the smaller time frames, if I were to see the opportunity to trade this down to the monthly pivot, then I'd certainly jump on it. But as always, you know, I don't want to be trading short off support. I want to be trading short off resistance. So that resistance area there becomes really interesting for me. So there's a little bit of a confidence area here. I am on a 30-minute chart, so it wouldn't surprise me to get back up to here. We are kind of double bottom-ishing here. So a little rally up to here wouldn't surprise me at all. Nice little retest of the daily pivot. Maybe hit this level, bounce off it, maybe get through it, hit this high here at the daily resistance 1, then get back underneath the lot, retest that area. I think that's a reasonable trading opportunity. So that's kind of where I'm at. There's probably another little trend line or trade line coming through here that you could do exactly the same thing from. Let's put that in. There you go. So same thing. Up, consolidate, back under, retest, short. That would be my play on dollar yen today if it does pop up. Cable. Boy, cable. Oh, we haven't placed the trade. Goodness me. What was I thinking?
Oh, I don't know, mate. You got lost a bit lost in there. I'm just putting in a little order to the downside just to mitigate any downward moves. Market is looking pretty weak here, so I'll put an order in about 10 pips away from where we currently sit. So 68.70, 68.68, and I'll be into the downside on the FTSE 100. So be careful of that level, guys.
Okie dokie. 68.60, you said, I think.
68.68.
68.68. There you go. Shut the gate. Don't be
Yeah,
late.
hopefully. I want them to shut the gate. I don't want it to go down there, but I've had to mitigate the potential because the market is a bit heavy, and I'm not seeing any of the top 20 stocks picking up at this particular stage. So if this is going higher, it's got some work to do. If it's going to go higher, it'll probably go higher from this little bounce point. But if it doesn't bounce here, I suspect we might take another leg down.
Okay. Righto. We'll place the short order first. This is the beta test, guys. This is still in test mode. So do not take any undue risks with this. It is not a, I don't know what I can, this is on the Fusion Markets account. I don't know what I'm allowed to trade on this. This is only a limited risk scenario. Let's try 0.25. See what the limits are on this. Pending order short as a sell stop. Looks like it might let me do that. 10 underneath the range of the last 3 1-hour bars, right? There's the range at the bottom here. 1, 2, 3. It's pretty much the same as the candle. So the low of that range is at 1.2916. We'll call it 1.2906 as our entry. 1.2906. And the stop loss will be 15 pips above the range. The high of this range here is the high of this candle. 1.2938 plus 15 is 1.2953. And wonder what I get away with 0.5. No, don't you hate that? You just got to hate that. 1.2906. No, it won't let me. 0.25. Is that going to change? It's going to change again, isn't it? Damn. Hope you haven't gone to sleep, guys. Right, it's going to let me do that. So 2953, 2906. Bingo. So we just repeat that and go 1.2906, 1.2953, going in the opposite direction. So this time it's a buy order. Buy stop. 1.2953 and 1.2906. Okie dokie, I think we've got that pretty much in hand. All right, so just to repeat that, and this is the current method of trying to nail this down to a strategy. It is trading the pound US dollar UK open breakout, let's call it that. And what we're doing currently is using the high of, the last 3 candles before UK open and the low of the last 3 candles of UK open. We're going short 10 pips underneath that low, and we're going long 15 pips above that high. We are using the short entry as our stop loss for the long, and we're using our long entry as our stop loss for the short. When one triggers, we then cancel the other, and we then trail 2 bars on a 15-minute chart. So in other words, as soon as this is triggered, I'll switch to a 15-minute chart. And when if I get triggered short, I'll use 2 15-minute selling bars. If I get 2 15-minute selling bars, I'll move my stop above those, vice versa the other way. If I'm going long and get 2 buying bars, I'll put my stop loss underneath the low of those 2 buying bars. That is the current beta test strategy for this UK session breakout, or open of UK session breakout. And so far, of course, we haven't been entered into that trade today. You want me to keep going, Mick?
Is it ever the case that you don't get entered into that?
I don't think that's happened.
No?
I don't think it's ever happened, no.
So the range is effectively shallow enough to promote a trade one way or the other.
Well, you know, the ATR of pound US dollar is usually way outside of what we've got. This time it's what, 50, not even 50 pips. So it'd be highly irregular for pound US dollar not to range 50 pips.
Right.
And you know, generally we're going to get taken into that mix. There have been occasions where it's taken quite some time. Actually, there might have been one day where we didn't get triggered. But you know, it's like 1 out of 1,800. It's not a thing by any stretch.
Yeah.
And for that reason, because you know, pound US dollar generally ranges far more than that.
Yeah.
And the really good parts, of course, comes, and I hate to talk old school, but you know, this used, and it's why it's an old strategy. The market used to, and I can demonstrate this, I suppose. I won't do it now, but we'll do it one day. And you can do it, guys, if you want to have a look anyway yourselves. Pound US dollar and the range on pound US dollar, say some 5-10 years ago, was generally far greater than it is currently. So to do that, you know, go back 15 years in time and put up your ATR, and then put up, you know, between the last 3 months or whatever the case may be. And you know, we tend to believe, or I tend to believe, that this is generally because of computers trading the market rather than people. Yeah. I know people still trade the market, but in a real sense, you're getting computers going to a certain level and reversing, or scalping, if you like, at the end of the day, because it's very much and it's a lot to do with the way I think as well. Maybe I was a computer in a former life, I don't know. But you know, when I get to a daily resistance level, for instance, I tend to think, okay, we're going to get a bounce there, or in particular if it's a second or third daily resistance level. And you know, I think that the algos are pretty much attuned to that sort of thing, and don't tend to look for breakouts. They're looking for those resistance levels where history has proven that price will react off that. So it's only when I think the big guys jump into the market and go, well, stuff you, computer, I'm going this way, that we kind of get, you know, extensions on the ATR, for instance, or breakouts, if you're genuine breakouts, which we saw last week. You know, we saw last week on gold went nuts. What else went nuts? Can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, dollar yen went nuts, you know. That's not a common thing. If it was a common thing, and there were times, I remember going back, you know, 10 or 12, 15 years ago. Can I say 15? Not quite, about 14 years ago, where, you know, the ATR on the euro was 120 pips every day. That is so much easier to trade than an ATR of 40 pips, you know. And that was like heaven. It was really, really easy stuff to trade. These days, you're contending with that, you know, narrow ATR and that narrow range that you've got to work in. And, you know, unless you're spot on 5, 15, 30-minute charts, your timing has to be really, really good.
Yeah. Because
of those compressed ATRs. Give me the old days of 120 pips every day, and I'm happy chappy, you know.
Yeah.
Because you've got room for error. You've got far more, I guess, scope for the patterns that you like to trade. In these days, you're getting, you know, stuff like this all the time, and how the hell can you make sense out of that? It's really, really difficult to trade. This is far easier to trade because you've got big candles, and you know that, okay, if these guys are going to fail and price gets back to here, you're going to get a pretty fair reaction, and you're going to go to this level. So that's far easier to read than this stuff.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. And we haven't been triggered. Dollar Swissy, I'm a jerk, you know. I'm an absolute idiot. I got out of this trade. I've been in this trade since, I don't know, last week. Up here somewhere. No, that's this week. I got in here, yeah. And I took everything off the table here today. And look at this stupid thing. Now it's going again. I mean, it's good because I'm in Aussie Swiss. I assume that's going as well. But I should still be in this, and I'm very annoyed with myself that I got out. Anyway,
what the good reason to take it off the table at the time, though?
Mate, lack of time in front of the chart, I think, and I saw what I thought was the potential for this to go back to the weekly pivot, and I didn't want to lose what I'd already had down here. You know, that was a pretty good gain what we had down here. So yeah, I just took profit. I took the profit off. I mean, I never get angry at myself for doing that because I think it's always a good strategy to bank. But I should have waited until this got to here and then saw what the candles did and then jumped back in. But yeah, lack of time in front of the charts. You can't replace time in front of the charts. It's simple as that.
No. Well, the FTSE 100 is continuing to struggle at this particular point. Difficult. I've just hedged it out, but I might have to take the hedge off if it holds. So I'm in a little bit of management mode here, and it might put pay to the rest of my show in many respects, because it's going to take us a bit of focus now, I think, to actually make sure that this is correctly managed. Looks like it could be heavy. I can show you quickly what I'm looking at, and unless you got anything else that you were working with there, mate.
Now, when you're done, mate, I'll take back over and then you do what you need to do.
Okay, great. Could you stop sharing a minute?
I can try.
Okay.
There you go.
Great. Oh, sorry, that was my fault anyway. Okay, so FTSE 100 is moving to the downside. I have taken a hedge, as I say, down here. Need it now to collapse. I don't mind a collapse. What I don't like is when it kind of flips around in this area, because then the hedge starts costing money while the upside is still triggered. So it's looking a bit heavy, but as I said, it's a very difficult position because of where it sits in the longer term trend. This is also what we've got here. So this would suggest it cutting back a little bit further. Now, if it doesn't break the low, that would suggest that that we might start to be getting a bit of divergence on this momentum indicator. But what I'm really looking for is for the hourly bar really to kind of like burst its way through to the downside. No, I don't necessarily anticipate this, but this would really help me out. Is if I saw that the hourly bar really burst to the downside and take out the low down there, while this was also breaking this low here, because that would start to mitigate the trend line on the RSI. But I've got to be a bit careful. It's a bit sluggish down here, but I think at this stage there's probably still just about enough fear. The issue really has become prevalent, because the top 20, there's not one in positive territory right now. In actual fact, most of them are down 1 to 3%, 1 to 5%. Some of them down. Yeah, it's around about 3%. Most of them are down. So an average of the top 20 stocks in the UK 100 being in a lot of trouble. WPP shares over 10% down after missing sales and revenue targets, and I think that may well be probably a theme. Aston Martin shares slide over 6%, are reporting a loss of 104 million. Travel stocks slide again. EasyJet falling another 8%. And I really like EasyJet as a stock. I think it's a great company, and you know, when all this calms down, I'm going to have to look at the travel industry to see whether there's still a chance that the travel industry can come back from this, because you know, somebody noted yesterday, does this actually change the way that we do business? Does this change the way that we look at travel and air travel? And that does become an issue. Of course, you know, airline stocks could get hugely hammered by this stuff.
I think they'll get beaten up big time in the short term. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, but is it potentially a longer term issue, mate? That's the question I've really got. You know, is this something which could linger on and actually change the way people think about air travel?
I think the human is highly overrated on an intelligence scale. So I have absolutely no doubt that we'll go back to our former idiocy and just carry on as though nothing ever happened.
Do you know what? I suppose my maybe the theory that was really being intimated was, if business has to adapt, does the new way that it adapts, and I don't mean sort of like people traveling on a holiday. I'm talking about business, because that makes up the majority of travel. But if business has to adapt, do they adapt in such a way that that travel becomes less important? So and then eventually they say, well, actually, I'm not going to send you to New York. I'm not going to send you to wherever, Singapore. I'm going to, you know, we're going to do it a different way, because now we've been forced to find a way, and it works, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, we've discovered webinars, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's I suppose the you know, what I'd be getting at, really. You know, do they kind of go further and deeper into that kind of technology where, I don't know, even holographic presentations become.
Well, AI is right on the forefront, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
yeah, absolutely.
Not
absolutely.
AI. That's not virtual reality. Is what
Virtual reality. Yes,
yeah.
we are. Yeah. So you know, there's a possibility there. FTSE 100 is struggling to get through these lower levels, but I think we've probably got in just about the right time, because if it is to hold here, then should have a chance of getting out at near enough break even if it does. So so I'm just waiting on this one, mate, and seeing what's going to happen. But looking kind of heavy at this particular stage.
Can you talk for another couple of minutes?
Yeah,
you're
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
What's your take on gold? Is this getting into a good buy position, or should we just hang around for a bit?
Yeah, gold I think is you know, another one of interest. Let's have a look at it, because obviously the gold story is a lot has been about how people have been mitigating the risk of their positions by buying gold, but it's still overbought, and it's still heavily kind of shorted by the commercials. So I think if you get an opportunity to go long, you have to take it. But I would suggest you probably want stops at break even as soon as you can possibly get it, because there was a fairly
they'll dump it as soon as it gets up again.
Yeah,
new highs, they'll dump it. Yeah.
I would have thought so. I mean, when we kind of look at this, that's really what happened a couple of days ago. Massive move there. What I thought was quite interesting is that it didn't turn into an evening star, because this bar wasn't anywhere near deep enough for that to be the case, and it's kind of fluctuating into positive and a negative territory a little bit yesterday, and you know, now we're back up again. It seems that the coronavirus concern is front and center, and it doesn't appear at this stage that that's going away just yet. So gold probably is still a buy. US Treasuries are the yields are at incredibly low levels, and actually the dollar. Look at the dollar; it's just getting obliterated in a bit this morning. This is the dollar yen. The pound is also in much better shape against the dollar this morning. You checked out the euro earlier on. I just don't see how the dollar's going to. This is it against the Sing. I don't see how the dollar's going to catch a bid here. So if that's the case, then to be on top of and to be with some gold, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world at all.
Yeah, look, I'm not a gold trader, so it doesn't affect me too much, except for what it does to the market in general.
Yeah.
Risk on, risk off, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because it is an indicator. There's no question about that. But yeah, it doesn't really affect me at the end of the day. So I'm not that concerned on what gold does.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
fair.
Just look at it as a barometer and see.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the world doing?
Yeah.
It's all
I get
good.
it, mate.
Okay, we've got new candles on the 30-minute charts, and the euro is continuing its run. It may well get up to that level I was talking about today. Interesting. I'll pinch screen, yeah?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Go for it.
Can't.
Oh, sorry. I'm with you now. With you right now. Sorry, it's this. There you go.
Cheers, mate. Radio, come on. You can do it. There we go. So, yeah, there we see the euro off and running. That's a nice sight. I don't mind that at all. And as I said, it's just too far gone to think about trading right now if you're not in. Dollar yen's in an interesting position, given that we're potentially at we are at a support level. We're not potentially at a support level on a smaller time frame. On the bigger picture, yes, it's got some work to do to get through here. That's true. So if you're not in short already, it's probably going to be a little bit of a task for you to do that unless it retraces somewhat. Let me see if that is possible. I think I'll get rid of that. Yeah, I'd be okay with that if we got back to here. I think I said that before anyway. And then look to trade it short, but not happening right now. Still haven't been triggered on the cable. Dollars, I don't want to look at that. Aussie US dollar. Now, almost impossible for me to trade Aussie US dollar long because it has broken this very, very strong and long-term support level. It's taken a while to do it, but it's there now. And I think this is in all sorts, absolutely all sorts. And I'm looking at 64-ish, not even 63 and a half. We are currently at 65.70, so another 200 pips available here, I believe, on Aussie US dollar short. I'm not in Aussie US dollar, but I am in Aussie Swissy, and that's doing just as well, if not better. So I don't see any possible reason to think that this won't go to that level that I just mentioned. Of course, you would be expecting retracements, and that retracement could well go back to the 66 level, 66.50, maybe the weekly pivot here, which is just below that. And it wouldn't surprise me one little bit if that were to be the case. We are in an overextended situation on this currency pair. But that said, I see absolutely no reason why the Aussie can rally. It'll be very interesting on Tuesday because we have the RBA statement. What I'd like to see is, are they forecasting anything yet on that? Let me go to the calendar and see if there is a forecast up for next Tuesday, which will be March the 3rd, and nothing. So nobody's having a punt at that just yet. I'm out of town, have been for all week, so I really haven't been keeping up to what's going on in terms of the RBA, but before Tuesday, we'll have a look at that. And as soon as they post this number, I'll be very interested to see what happens with the Aussie. If they post this number, the forecast, if they post that as a cut, which they may, it may well be forecast as a 0.5% interest rates on Tuesday. That will only add fuel to the fire. And this will be very, very interesting on Tuesday. I'm super glad I'm already short on the Aussie, because I think there's, in particular on dollars, Aussie Swissy rather, there's a massive chasm underneath it. And it goes back to the decoupling of the euro and the Swissy. There's like 1,000 pips underneath this cross before there's any support at all. amazing. Anyway, we'll see. I'm not saying it's going there anytime soon, but don't like looking at that chart because I got out of it. Okay, so Aussie, I think, yes, retracement definitely on the cards. Maybe the weekly pivot, maybe to 66, 62 as I've got it there. And if you're not in the short, then I think that would be an extremely good opportunity for you to get in at around about that level. In terms of today, if you really are keen to trade the Aussie, then let it come back to the daily pivot and give you a higher low, and then it's really a scalp trade back to the breakout area, which is around there somewhere. So 65.90 or something. So pull back to the daily pivot, higher low. Yep, there's a little scalp onto that level, I believe, if you're keen. There's no entry there for me just now, of course. This is probably the best possible trading opportunity for me today because of the position that it's in. If I go to the bigger picture here, the daily chart, you can see clearly that we are in a box range and we came back inside the box. We had a higher low, not a good one, I've got to say, but then skyrocketed back to the top. Didn't quite make it the first attempt, so we had another crack with a higher low and away we went. Now we're there, getting a little bit of a rejection at the moment off the daily chart. This interests me, of course, because I love range trading. And if I were now to see tomorrow morning, for instance, that price had come down to here, I'd then be looking on the daily chart for a rally back to this area and putting in a lower high, giving me the opportunity to trade it short. But I may not need to wait that long because I think there's every chance today we will get a daily pivot test on dollar CAD. And if that were to be the case, let me see if I can actually draw this, because as we all know, and as Harry Nilsson once said, is it Harry Nilsson? I think so.
Wasn't he a serial killer?
Certainly Kojak said it. Everyone remembers Kojak's version. Every
Who loves
picture
you,
paints
baby?
1,000 words. Who loves you, baby? That's Kokachu. Where's my thing? There it is. So here's what I would like to see. Daily pivot test back to pretty much this exact level, because that's a nice little high there. And if that were to be the case and we got a nice reversal bar there, it would be very difficult for me not to take this short at that point. And there's a whole truckload of pips available to you there. There's a take profit level as well. So that would, to me, I think that's probably the trade of the day if it does set up. It's got to set up, of course. And that's the way it would set up for me. Daily pivot test, bounce, lower high, short, happy days. That's what I'll be looking for. That leaves one only, and that's the Kiwi. The Kiwi. Why is that doing that to me? There we go. All right, Kiwi, similar to everything against the dollar at the moment, is rallying somewhat. Sustainable, maybe, but not past, I don't think, not past this level here. I think the weekly pivot will pull it up, if not this level just above it. I left this trade line on here just to demonstrate how amazing trading is at times. Why would you think that every single candle going down here would be playing with this trend line? Some people don't like trend lines. And I think that, to me, it's like barnacles on the bottom of a boat. They just can't break off. You know, it's amazing. But the one thing that you do know is as soon as it does, it'll do it, and it'll do it in spades. So the reason I've left that there is once this does break away, I think we are going to get an extended rally here. And that level, as I said before, is probably going to be my favorite. I've got the blue circle of death here, so I can't do anything with my chart. And I hope you can actually still hear me and probably see my chart, but it's frozen.
Yeah, we're all right, mate, yeah.
Still there?
Still there.
There we are. I think we got a bit of life back. Good. So, you know, this area here, this little cloud of an area, I think here is a perfect place to target, number one. And then number two, probably a perfect place to look for a short again on Kiwi dollar. So yeah, what do I need to trade that? Well, we're on a 4-hour chart. It's going to be tough to predict exactly where, but on the 30-minute chart, it ain't that difficult if we've got a trade line that we can use. And at the moment, yes, we do. It's a little bit sneaky, but there it is. Wow, this is going to be super tough to trade because of that bar. It's too big. What we'd need to wait for here now is this to be a high, and some lower highs here maybe. Then we've got a trend line across here. Then we can break it, retest it, and go. Until that happens, there's no trade here for me. But I do expect that this is an indicator to me. It's a signal to me that prices, reluctant, can't get below what really is the high side of a trend line. So once we've got away from there, I think the market's then made up its mind that this trend is intact and let's go. And I think that's probably what's happened here. So that level, as I said before, that I actually see this coming back from is 63.68 to 63.82. So anywhere in there, I think is a great target area. And then after the target's hit, look for the short. Mate, I think that's me done.
No worries. Well, we've got some questions, so let's get to some of those.
Okay, I can't see them, of course.
That's okay. Alexis is asking, howdy, Alexis, by the way, and hi, LT, Chris.
Is that the Alexis that we know and love?
I think so.
Hello, Lexi.
So we've got, can we use the same beta strategy on the pound Aussie? Is that a setup? I'm presuming that means the same strategy that you're using on the pound dollar.
Yeah, look, Lexi, I think it's perfectly valid to use it on anything as a beta test that you see fit. The reason it's done on pound US dollar is because when UK session opens, there's a massive influx of funds that go on pound US dollar. Same on euro US dollar. But the tradition, and it is a tradition, like this strategy's been around since Noah played fullback for the Israel All Blacks, Was he from Israel? I'm not sure where he's from.
I can't remember.
Anyway, he played for that. He was in that league, and I'm sure
somewhere near the beach, I think.
It could be. But the truth of the matter is, this used to work day in, day out, and there was absolutely very strong hit rate on it on pound US dollar, and that's the reason. I can't give you a definitive answer on any other pair because I've only ever traded on pound US dollar. And back in the day, it was a corker. It used to hit a really good win-loss ratio. So I really can't remember how I used to trade. I think I used to trade it, and there's many, many ways to trade it. If you Googled pound or UK session pound breakout trade, you'll find 6 million versions of it. And that's what I'm trying to nail down right now as to which is the best way to do that. We were having a great run prior to Christmas with it, the way we were trading it. And that fell in a heap come January. Really, really got beaten up in January. And in February, it's done okay. Not brilliant, but it's done okay. I'd really like to test it more on pound yen, for instance, rather than pound Aussie. But I'm always open to someone saying to me, "Hey, this works better on pound Aussie." But sorry, I can't give you that answer, Lexi. Sorry.
Okay, mate. Well, that's all good. What else we got? We got for the SPX 500, FTSE and NASDAQ, what's a suitable lot size to trade? 0.1 lot seems to be very small. Mate, that's completely down to your accounts, because you can't, if you over leverage your account, if you over risk from the size of your accounts, then that's what will get you in trouble more than a bad strategy. You don't have to, trying to make money out of trading in a swift manner just doesn't happen. I know a lot of people that traded Bitcoin for that year that it went gangbusters, and they saw a lot of money in their account, But they got romanced by the money. The Bitcoin came all the way back down again, and they ended up losing money. You know, they're still in a hole with it right now. Some of those people. So it's never about the lot size. It's always about the size of your account. If your account can absorb a 10 lot a standard lot, then you trade a standard lot. But if it can't, then 0.1, you know, it might be small, but it's not small relative to your account. You know, it's just got to be relative to how big your account is. It's always the way that you focus on your account size than how much you're going to put on each trade, before you focus on your account size. Does Forex Factory report on commodities, gold, silver, oil, and stocks? No, it doesn't. It doesn't do stocks. FTSE, Nasdaq, SPX. No. Yahoo Finance does stocks. It's quite a cumbersome way to search. There are kind of companies out there which offer a one-stop shop on that stuff. I think Google have got their own finance thing as well, which I haven't seen, but I think Google have got a Google Finance. Yahoo Finance is good for.
It'll be Google toilet paper shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably will.
Yeah.
But that's a place to look for that stuff.
In the toilet, yeah.
In the toilet. You down on Google, are you, mate, or is it?
No, mate. Well, I hate being controlled by anything. You know that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm in the grips of Google. How did that happen?
Well, I don't know. They've got us all somehow. How do you use smaller time frames like the 15 minutes or 4 hour to make decisions on the trade? Well, let me just ask you what strategy you're trading, because Jeff trades off the 30 minute, don't you, Jeff? And
yeah,
and he'll make decisions off the daily. I'll make decisions off the 5 sometimes, or the 15. But it depends on your strategy. It's you've got to kind of like know what your strategy is, and then you can kind of start going in to decipher which time frame you should be trading off, because you can't just make a decision off a 15-minute chart if you don't have some background analysis in place. Now, that analysis can come from anything. It could be fundamental. It might be that you've got a fundamental reason to go in a direction in the market, so you use the 15-minute just to get an entry, or it might be a technical where you have done a top-down analysis of the time frames and then got to your 15. Or it might be that you have specific indicators which, when they do a specific thing, you take the trade off the 15. So you would have to know which strategy you're trading, really, to kind of give you a definitive answer on how to use the small term, specific time frames, because everybody uses them slightly differently. Jeff trades in a completely different way to me, and you'd probably need a decent understanding of the overall approach before you can get into the specifics of which is specific. How do you calculate and find out how much your account side can absorb before margin call example? So if you got a 2.9 thousand pound account, let's call it 3,000 just to round it up to make my maths easy, then you usually get margin called at 50%. So they will start closing down your largest losses when you hit 50% loss in your account. So if your trades start to get down to 1.5 grand, then they will start, the broker will start closing the positions for you. So you've effectively got £1,500, or in this case, £1,450 or $1,450 to trade with. You haven't got 2,900. It's a bit of a misnomer, that, in many respects. You are using leverage, but I would go off the basis that you've really got 1,450 or maybe 2 grand, but you've got to give yourself a buffer. You can't just say I've got 2.5 grand or 2.9 or 3 grand to trade with, because you haven't realistically. Anyway, so is there anything else your end, mate? I'm pretty much done from here. FTSE has held, which is okay, because we managed to make that managed to protect that trade. And I'm hoping that anybody that is on the Telegram group is still holding their long positions in. but we will see, and I will give you an update later on how I'm going to be treating this market. But I quite like the fact it's holding. What I don't like is that I've got no top 20 stocks in positive territory, not one.
Nothing's changed, hey?
Well, it probably has. The difficult thing is I'm looking at a list of 20 stocks with their percentages next to them. And it's either red or green, depending on whether they're positive or negative. And they're all red, but they might be better red than they were 15 minutes ago. But all I can see is just a wall of red. So I'm finding it difficult to decipher whether it's getting better or worse right now.
I'm finding it very difficult to decipher whether this pound's going long or short, really. Like I can make a case both ways.
Yeah.
And the current candle is telling me exactly the same thing.
Let's have a look.
I don't think I'd like to be triggered long right now, I've got to say. But
I was going to say, yeah, I think the short looks good. I mean, is it my screen or your screen being shown? It's yours, isn't it?
I don't know. But I mean, if I'm there, then I'm seeing, as I said, mixed signals. Nice bounce
off
the bottom of the range. Nice bounce off the bottom of the range. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So if we get back above this trend line and retest it, then I'm a bull.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Until we do, I'm a bear.
Well, I'm with you, because actually you get above that trend line and retest it. That will also coincide with a weekly pivot.
You bet, yeah.
But I'm with you, because I've just looked at the daily chart, and the daily charts bar yesterday is pretty bad, and actually we kind of probably sit just about a level of resistance here. You know, it's because when you look at that, you've got a high, a lower low, a lower high. Does this start the run for the next lower low? So yeah, I'm looking at that thinking that looks a little bit dodgy. The FTSE 100 is really doing pretty well on the chart right now. So that's better. Yeah. So but I've got nothing else, mate. We are at the 9 o'clock hour.
Yep.
On the UK session.
Nothing's changed here for me. It's very much a case of can't get into the market on the 30-minute charts. I don't really need to. Having a pretty decent week so far. The Euro's doing very well for us. Aussie Swissy's doing very well for us. And there's a couple of others I'm in as well that we haven't spoken about on the show. So all good.
Great stuff, mate. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up. I'm just going to quickly show you what we've had with the FTSE in the last few minutes. So this bar is looking better now. You know, the loss will be mitigated under this price. The hedge came off. As I said, I was going to take the hedge off if it held, and it did hold. There's a 15-minute hold there, so the hedge could come off at no loss. In fact, that's very, very slight gain. But now we've got a situation that I'm going to need to see this start to move to the upside to make me a bit more comfortable. But the good thing is, this is a morning star pattern on a 15-minute time frame, granted, but we also have an hourly hammer down here. The daily pivot is the issue. We've got to get above it. Got to get above the daily pivot. We've got to get above this trend line. If we do that, then we should have some. A fair bit of upside. Now, all I'm really anticipating, if we can get above there, is for us to trend into the end of the week. And my targets are multiple, really. I'd really like to get to there. If I can get a little bit higher, that'd be gravy. So yeah, well, let's see how we finish up, mate. But yeah, this is the end of the week for us as well, isn't it? So I'll be putting an update into the Telegram group later. I can't tell you when it will be, because I just do it when I see a trade.
Mine's in there already.
Yours is in there already. Great.
I was talking about pound kiwi. I think it was pound kiwi. Anyway, it's in the Telegram group. But you're not You're not a member of the Telegram group. Get real. What's it called, Ash?
It's posted. It's posted. I've just posted it up.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good man.
Right at the start.
Online trading profits.
There you go. No, yeah, online trading profits. There you go. I think that's right. Okay, mate. So I'm just going to deal with this one question by Chris. Hi Ash, for the 1.5 out of 3,000, that is tradable. Can I just look at margin in MetaTrader 4 because I'm not sure. Okay. That is traded in the market. That is floating. Gosh, can you look at margin? Do you know, I'm not really. That's. I've never calculated it that way, and I don't know. Oh, sorry, that's me, isn't it? I'm thinking. I've never calculated it that way, and that's. So I don't know is the answer to that. Do you don't calculate it that way, do you, Jeff? With
Sorry, mate. What
so Chris is asking for a 1,500 K account.
Yep.
1,500 K account out of 3,000. That's tradable. Can you look at the margin in MetaTrader 4? Because I'm not sure how to measure the amount that is traded in the market that is floating. Now, I feel like you need some help, obviously, and we will endeavour to give it to you. So because there's nothing worse than being confused about how much money you should be putting on with a trade. But
okay, I can tell you how much you should be putting on, but what I can't tell you is how much you've got available in margin, because I don't understand it myself. I've never had to.
Yeah.
Because my account's always been substantial enough to cover it. But I can't answer that question. I really can't. I think that's a question for, let me direct that question to somebody. We'll get you the answer,
Lexis.
Chris, by the way. Lexi
Where's she when you need her?
Let's take the question on notice, Chris.
Yes, can we
if
do
you
that?
don't mind.
Yeah.
And give you the answer on Monday.
Okay.
If that works.
I am currently copying your paste. I'm copying and pasting your message into Jeff and I's Skype chat, just so we both have it, so we don't forget. And we will get to that on Monday, because that's going to take a little bit of head scratching and maybe a possible bit of asking for people. That's a question for Lloyd. That's a question for Lloyd. No problem, Chris.
Pass it on.
He will know best. Okay. Yes, he probably will. Geez, he was in yesterday. I'll tell you what. Why don't we get Lloyd in on Monday to explain?
Righto. There you go.
All right. I'll ask Lloyd to pop in for 5 minutes, and he will give us an explanation, Chris.
We'll pass the ball.
We will pass the ball, but we will pass it to the best man that should have the ball at this stage. He's got the safest hands. Thanks, Alexis. You're a gem. She passed the ball, and now we're going to pass the ball.
Absolutely. Look, we could answer the question, but it'd be all bullshit, Chris. To be fair.
Yeah.
The true answer is I don't know.
Yeah, that's the same answer for me too. You're welcome, Chris. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap it up, mate. Same trade time, same trade channel. Next Monday, we're going to get our margin level expert in to tell us all about how we should be calculating that part of our account. And
that might scare the crap out of me.
We'll just go make a cup of tea, mate.
Okay.
Give us a break. Okay, so we are long the FTSE, and we are hoping that it's going to continue to the upside from these levels, but be a little bit careful, because the coronavirus news and the details on the coronavirus continue to confound and frustrate. So let's see how long we can stay in this market to the upside for. But I would wrap it up at the end of tomorrow. If you are long, I'd wrap it up, because PMIs out of China could be bleak. So yeah, take what profit is on offer as soon as you can. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Alexis.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, guys, as well. We'll see you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah, have a great weekend to you too, buddy. I'll be back 5 to 8.
Thanks, mate. I'll be back home this time next Monday.
No, brilliant. Yeah, okay, you can have
Thank
your.
God.
Yeah, you can have all your screens in.
You bet I can. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
What time's that, mate?
Just to also mention, we got an interview as well next Monday. Next Tuesday we do interviews, don't we? With Sahar. So Sahar is extremely successful right now, and he's going to just share with us some of the approaches that he uses with trading. So we'll be talking to Sahar next week, and we'll be further posting it in the Telegram group our trade ideas. just to wrap it up. And we will be back next Monday at 5 to 8.
Sounds like a date. Don't be late, guys. Have a great weekend.